I am Dr. Amarjit Kaur. I am Professor of Accounting and a Certified Management Accountant from Institute of Management Accountants, USA. I am life member of Chicago chapter. I am author of 8 books and 48 research papers. It's my privilege that I am here today to talk on the topic accounting for non-for-profit organizations. As the name suggests, not-for-profit organizations means those organizations which are not here to make profit. To understand more about this topic, let's put some emphasis on the types of organizations which we may have in the society. You may have observed that there are many companies which are in the process of manufacturing. There are many companies which are in the function of trading. There are companies which are like event management or service providing companies. So most of these companies or the businesses, so maybe in the form of HUF, maybe in the form of a partnership firm, maybe in the form of proprietorship firm, their objective is to make money. So the majority of organizations which we come across, which we see on day-to-day basis in our life, they are here to make money, either by manufacturing or by selling or just by trading or providing services, whichever the business could be. For example, a bank is a service providing organization, right? An insurance company is a service providing company. But a company like Procter & Gamble into manufacturing, they are manufacturing your toiletries, they are selling it later on. There could be a company which is just a trading company. There could be e-commerce company, like we have so many e-commerce portals nowadays who are just collaborators. They are neither into manufacturing, they are just collaborating or bringing those people who are suppliers at one platform, and we are buying from that, right? So there could be any kind of business, but they all are here to make profits, to earn profits. But if you observe around, if you look around, you will find that there are many entities. I will not say they are business entities, I will say only the entities. There are entities which are here to just serve either their members or general public, right? So those are the organizations, those are the entities which are known as not-for-profit entities. What could be example? Let's think around. So most of us, whenever we fell sick, we visit hospitals, right? It could be a big brand, small brand, a small roadside hospital near to your house, in your colony, but they are the organizations which are formed with the objective of serving the society, right? Think about clubs. We have many clubs around, few clubs are organized, are being held by the government system, few are privately, few are by the members. So clubs are here to provide services to the members or to the general public. These clubs could be for purpose of sports, could be for promotion of art and culture, could be meant for some other activities, right? So recreational activities. Then we have societies. Societies are here to again with some certain agenda in mind, certain objective in mind, which could be simply to provide education, which could be simply to promote certain kind of culture, certain kind of philosophy, literary work, artwork, anything. So they all are formed, all these examples which I quoted, these organizations are formed with the objective of service providing to the members or both to members and general public, right? So these organizations are not formed with the objective of making profits. So this is one important thing. It means if I wish to categorize all the organizations around us, so we can put them as for-profit organization and not for-profit organizations, right? I hope you are with me. Couple of examples. We have a Rotary Club. We have clubs which are collecting bloods from the people who are volunteering for it and then providing it to the needy people. we are having clubs around which are promoting simply, NGOs, in the form of NGOs which are promoting either health amongst children, nutrition amongst underprivileged children, education. So there are thousands and thousands of organizations around, which are there not for profit purpose. They are here to serve the society. Now moving forward, so the question comes in, what are the features? If we wish to put all the features, whatever I discuss about these societies, what are the features of not for profit organizations? The first feature, as is there in front of you in the slide, is main aim of these organizations is to provide service. So the aim, the objective of not for profit organization is different. They are here to provide service to the general public or to the members. It's not that all the organizations which are not for profit organizations, they provide services to the general public, not at all. Most of the clubs, I don't want to name, let's say for example, this is Vasant Vihar, the area is Vasant Vihar in Delhi, and the name of the club is Vasant Vihar Club, right? So those clubs, they provide food, recreational activities and all those, and even the space is provided for functions, for family functions of members, right? So these clubs do not provide service, do not sell any service even to the outsiders. They are only for members. But what does it mean? Are all clubs like that? No. There are clubs which are providing services to members as well as to general public. Okay. Now coming to the next feature is form. So what is the form? How are they created? How are these not for profit organizations created? These not for profits organizations can be created primarily into two forms. One is in the form of societies, as we have SK society which is running or educational institution, or they can be formed in the form of trusts, right? So trusts are there and they are running the organizations. So form is not in the form of company, proprietorship firm or partnership firm. In a normal business, the for profit organizations, they are formed in these formats, either proprietorship, partnership, corporation, which we call as a company. Whereas here the not for profit organizations are formed in the form of society or in the form of a trust, right? Now the third feature is separate entity. These organizations, not for profit organizations, are very much like a company when it comes to the legal status of the organization, right? So the legal status of a trust or a society is a separate entity. So entity by definition is anybody or a group of people who have common objective. This is how we define entity, right? So company has been formed with the objective of making money by selling XYZ product. Same way, the not for organizations are formed with the purpose of serving any particular cause, but they are not for profit, but they do not want to earn profit without earning profit. Okay, so but they are separate entity, means whatever is been signed by the selected director, selected signing authority of the trust or of the society, it becomes being signed on the behalf of members, right? So it becomes a separate entity which has its own stamp, which has its own say, which has its own functioning through elected or selected members, right? Or the board of governors or board of members. The next feature, as I showed you earlier, is they are managed by elected members. Of course, when we say this is a separate entity, certainly the next question comes in, how does it work then? How does it function then? It works through its members who are elected by the rest of the members, right? So if there are 100 members, so generally by polling or by just without poll, the members can be selected as a managing members, managing director, signature, signatory, secretary, president, any capacity. For example, the Gurdwaras are also registered societies. RWAs are also registered societies. They all are basically non-for-profit organizations. In Delhi, because I live in Delhi, so I can quote the example. Most of the locations nowadays, they are gated entries. They have the RWAs. RW means Resident Welfare Associations, right? So this is one of the example of your not-for-profit organizations. How do they function? Most of the times we have elections of those bodies on a particular date is been announced, and then the president, secretary, treasurers, they all are selected, vice president. So these are the people who work on the behalf of the members, right? So this is how it functions. Next question is, what is the source of income? What is the source of revenue for these organizations? I can quote the society where I live. I am member of that society, that RWA, and we give annual subscription, annual fees, annual charge. Same is for club, right? If you are a member of a club, we have a very famous club, Gymkhana Club in Delhi, right? So if you are a member, you are paying the fees of the club and you are availing the services. Same way RWA fee has some specific fees per annum, to be paid by the members, and services are availed by the members by paying those fees or subscription fees. So subscription fees is the major source of income or revenue for not-for-profit organizations. But as I said, it is the major source. It means there are certain other minor sources. So what are those minor sources? The other sources could be donations. Many clubs, many societies, NGOs for example, their source of income is most of the time donations. So even there are certain societies, certain trusts, certain clubs which are into trading as well. But trading is not done with the purpose of making profit, but with the purpose of sustaining their existence and selling that only which causes, which supports their cause. Every organization which is not for profit actually is formed with a certain cause in mind, certain objective in mind. So which means, what I am trying to say is, the primarily source for such organizations is the subscription fees, followed by, or in addition, the donations could be there, grants could be there. Even government extend grants to many such organizations, because they are here for the purpose of some noble cause. So government grants are received, and there are few organizations which indulge into trading or selling of the goods. For example, if you have seen, we have blind school, and blind school has the members who are actually there to support all those kids or people who are unfortunate and have some issues with the sight. But they generally make candles, cards, such things, and they are sold. They are sold with the purpose of generating some revenue. This is this is something we see very often. Okay, so this is about the source of income. Now coming to the next point, and that is surplus. What do we do with that? The surplus which is there as a excess of revenue over the expenses, that's what we call as surplus. Means whatever the total revenue or the total income a non-for-profit organization generates in one accounting year, if it exceeds the expenses of the organizations, because these organizations also have expenses, right? They have to pay salaries, though they don't pay very lavish salaries, they do pay salaries. They do at least pay honorarium to certain members who are functioning on their behalf, or they do also spend on electricity, they also on rent, also stationery, so they do consume all those things. So whatever the difference is there from income to the expenses, this is known as surplus. Now had there been a business organization, that surplus, the difference of revenue and expense for a business is profit and is distributed, can be distributed to the shareholders or amongst the owners. But here the not-for-profit organizations, they cannot distribute the surplus of revenue over expense. This is legally, this is their legal form. This is the guideline that they cannot distribute the surplus. Coming to the next feature, the accounts they prepare, they hold. So the accounts, the books of accounts which they keep are primarily the cash book, receipt and payment account, then income and expenditure account, and the balance sheet. So these are the accounts these non-for-profit organizations are supposed to be keeping. Last feature for these organizations is the form of accounts. The accounts which are there, the form of account is slightly different than for other organizations. So form of account could be in the form of balance sheet, as I said, and in the form of income and expenditure account, in the form of receipt and payment account, right? So I hope you are clear with the features of not for profit organizations. Now I am proceeding with and shall be discussing the distinction, the difference between not for profit and for profit organizations, right? So as I said, there are primarily two types of organizations prevailing in any society, in any country. One, the not for profit organizations, and second are for profit organizations, which is a normal business, you can assume. So I shall be discussing the difference between the two now. You may note down these points. So I will take up one by one all these points. The first is primarily objective. So the primary objective for not for profit organization, I have just discussed that they are here to serve the society, whereas the primary objective of for profit organizations is to earn profit. So that is the first difference. The second difference is capital versus capital fund. Whatever money which is brought by the owners, whatever all those funds which are brought in to the business by owners or owner or by shareholders is known as capital or equity, right? But whatever is been brought in the business by the members who are the initial member, it is known as capital fund, right? So the capital fund, so there is a difference. We keep capital for profit organizations, capital account, and for non-for-profit organizations we maintain capital fund account. So the capital fund is little different than the capital. Now coming to the third point of differentiation, which is financial statements. For non-for-profit organizations, as I just mentioned a minute ago, we keep receipt and payment account, we maintain income and expenditure account and balance sheet. But in case of for-profit organizations, we have two types of for-profit organizations. One, the ones which are into manufacturing, and the second one which are into trading. So the set of books for these for-profit organizations, which is manufacturing and trading organizations, are different. If a for-profit organization into manufacturing, then we would have manufacturing account, trading and profit and loss account or statement of profit or loss. We would have balance sheet, and we will now it's mandatory to have cash flow statement, right? So whereas in case this for profit organization into trading only, then we need not to have manufacturing account, which means all other accounts minus the manufacturing account, which means your trading and profit and loss account, balance sheet, cash flow statement. And had it been a corporation, then statement of equity is also maintained. They are the accounts which are kept for profit organizations. So this was the third point of differentiation. Now I shall be talking about the fourth point of differentiation. It is regarding the surplus or deficit, profit or loss. The surplus, as I said, the difference between income and the expenditure of a not for profit organization, it can be distributed amongst, it cannot be distributed in amongst its members. Whereas the difference between revenue and the expenses of a for profit organization, of a normal business you may call, is known as profit and loss. So we use different terms. Here we use in not for profit organizations, the difference of revenue and expense is known as surplus or deficit. It's not necessary that a non for profit organization will have always surplus. They generally will have deficit as well in case their expenses are more than the revenue, right? Whereas this difference of revenue and expenses in case of for profit organization is known profit or loss. If my revenue is more than my expenses, that is a for profit organization, it will be known as profit, and if the revenue is less then the expenses, certainly it will end up into losses. So the terminology of the difference between revenue and expense for non for profit organization and for profit organizations are different. The fifth point of differentiation between the two is distribution of profit. As I said, the non for profit organizations, they cannot distribute the surplus, whereas the for profit organization, they will be distributing the profit. And believe me or not, if I am a for profit organization and I do not have profit in the current year, but I have certain reserves, accumulated profits from the previous year, can I distribute that? Yes. If I am a for profit organization, I can distribute the profits to the members even from previous years. So this year I may have profit, I may not have profit. I may have X amount of profit and I can distribute X plus some more amount on this, which is from the previous reserve, right? Whereas in case of society, they are supposed to be investing the surplus into the cause of the organization itself. For example, if I am an education institution, right? So we have thousands of private education institutions, and I have worked in private from the last 28 years. Now I am in a government service, right? So the question comes in, do they not make money? What do they do with the surplus? So they are expected to be reinvesting the surplus for promoting education. So that's how you will see most of the organization, they come up with one school or one department and then they keep on expanding. One particular stream is being launched initially, then they make some money which is the surplus, and they invest that surplus again in some other department. So they come up with some another department or other school, another building is being brought in, another infrastructure is created. So that's how they promote education. So they can diversify into different area, but their primary objective remains same. So this was the fifth difference. Now coming to the last point here, what are the accounting records? I am going to put them into details now. The first and the foremost accounting record which all non-for-profit organizations keep, as well as it is kept by the for-profit organization as well, is the cash book, right? So the cash book is a most important book. So this actually shows receipts and payments for any non-for-profit organizations, receipts and the payments for a particular period, right? So this is what is known as cash book. So question is it mandatory? No, it is not mandatory for non-for-profit organization to keep a cash book, but nevertheless you will see that almost every organization which is a non-for-profit organization, they do keep the cash book, okay? And then they also keep ledger book. So ledger book of course contains the accounts of all income, expenses, assets and liabilities. As we all know, ledger is a basically book which contains number and numerous, thousand and thousand of accounts. Now these accounts could belong to the head of income, any head of income. It could be revenue in the form of subscription, it could be head of donation, it could be in the form of grants, right? Then they do keep the head in the form of expenses. Expenses could be for rent, insurance, any kind of expense, salaries, etc. They do keep the accounts for assets and liabilities as any other business does, right? Assets and liabilities are always maintained by a for-profit organization as well. Okay, so final accounts for non-for-profit organizations contains receipt and payment account, income and expenditure account, and balance sheet. This is the final account, and the balance sheet is basically prepared opening balance sheet and the closing balance sheet. Two balance sheets are prepared for any non-for-profit organizations. So these are this was a basic introduction to the concept of non-for-profit organizations. I hope you could understand that what non-for-profit organizations are, how do they functions, how do they manage or how do they deal with the surplus or the deficit they earn, and what is the difference between non-for-profit organizations and for-profit organizations. So I hope I did justice to the topic. Thank you very much.